The boardroom was silent, except for one rule everyone knew but never spoke aloud. No black women allowed. Gabrielle stepped through the glass doors, her head held high, ignoring the cold stares burning into her back. This was the day everything was about to change. Hi, my name is Malik. If you believe stories like this need to be heard, please hit like and subscribe right now. Your support helps us shine a light on real injustice. Wilson Taylor sat at the head of the table, his eyes sharp and calculating. His voice cut through the tension. We have standards here, excellence, discipline, and a certain image to uphold. His assistant shifted nervously, clutching a folder filled with resumes. Sir, there's a candidate you should meet. Gabrielle Evans. Harvard MBA, fluent in French and Mandarin. Wilson's gaze didn't waver as Gabrielle entered the room. The atmosphere shifted instantly. She was more than qualified, but her presence defied the unspoken rule that Wilson guarded fiercely. Whispers flickered around the room like shadows, but Gabrielle's confidence never faltered. Have a seat, Wilson said curtly, motioning to the chair opposite him. Gabrielle sat down gracefully, her eyes meeting his with unwavering strength. Why apply here, given the reputation? Wilson asked, his tone cold but curious. Because real change starts where rules are broken, she replied calmly. Wilson studied her, a flicker of something unfamiliar passing through his eyes. The boardroom felt smaller somehow, the walls closing in around the old ways. The interview began, but it was clear this was more than a test of skills, it was a battle for respect. Every question, every answer carried the weight of history and hope. This was the beginning of a fight that would shake the foundation of Taylor Tech, and the very idea of who belonged in power. Wilson's office was a fortress of cold steel and glass, where every detail spoke of order and control. The city skyline stretched behind him, a constant reminder of his empire's reach. Yet inside, the air was thick with unspoken rules. Rules that kept people in their place and kept the company running exactly as he wanted. Gabrielle's arrival had already sent ripples through the glass walls. Staff whispered in hushed tones, exchanging looks that said everything without words. She was different, bold, unapologetic, and completely unafraid to challenge the status quo. But the question hung heavy. Could she survive in a world built to exclude her? From the first morning, Gabrielle sensed the cold gaze of her colleagues. Some avoided eye contact entirely, while others smirked with barely concealed disdain. The lunchroom was no refuge either. Groups clustered together, their laughter sharp and excluding. Gabrielle kept her head high, her focus unshaken. She had come prepared, not just with qualifications, but with a determination that ran deeper than any prejudice. Wilson, meanwhile, wrestled with his own memories. His mother's relentless voice echoed in his mind. Words about discipline, appearance, and worth. Those lessons had shaped him, building walls that seemed impenetrable. Yet Gabrielle was cracking those walls, piece by piece, simply by being herself. In meetings, Gabrielle's ideas were sharp and clear, cutting through the usual corporate chatter. She reorganized filing systems and schedules, improving efficiency without fanfare. But her successes only fueled resentment among senior managers who clung to old ways. Behind closed doors, whispers grew louder, plotting to push her out. Cheryl, Wilson's assistant for over a decade, watched the tension with growing concern. She had seen many come and go, but Gabrielle was different. Not just a capable worker, but a force challenging the company's very foundations. Cheryl's loyalty was tested as she balanced respect for Wilson's leadership with a quiet hope for change. Despite the cold reception, Gabrielle found small moments of support. A janitor nodded with quiet approval as she passed, and a young analyst offered a brief smile during a tense meeting. These small acts were reminders that change, though slow, was possible. Every day was a test, not just of skill but of resilience. Gabrielle refused to be broken by exclusion or silence. She was building more than a career. She was forging a path for those who would come after her. The corporate world around her remained rigid, but within Gabrielle, a quiet revolution was taking hold, one that promised to shake the glass walls and rewrite the rules. Wilson watched it all from his office, torn between the rigid man he had always been and the possibility of something new. His empire was vast, but Gabrielle had shown him that true strength came from embracing change, not resisting it. This was only the beginning, the calm before a storm that would change everything. The tension in the office was palpable as Gabrielle settled into her role. From day one, it was clear that not everyone welcomed her presence. Senior managers whispered behind closed doors, plotting to undermine her at every turn. Files went missing before crucial meetings. Important emails were delayed or ignored. The subtle sabotage was designed to make her fail, to prove that she didn't belong. Gabrielle noticed the cold shoulders and the cutting remarks, but she refused to be rattled. Her response was quiet but firm. When a coworker sneered that she was just a diversity hire, Gabrielle met their gaze steadily and replied, "I'm here because I earned it." Her calm defiance unsettled her detractors. One evening, as Gabrielle stayed late preparing a key presentation, she found her computer locked out. The screen flashed a chilling message, "Access denied." Richard Hartman, a middle-aged manager known for his disdain, appeared with a smirk. "Having trouble, Miss Evans?" he asked mockingly. Gabrielle's eyes narrowed. "Yes, someone's trying to block my work." Richard shrugged. "This system isn't friendly to new users. You'll have to be patient." But Gabrielle was no novice. She pressed on, determined to uncover the source of the sabotage. She gathered evidence quietly, piecing together the conspiracy forming against her. Whispers turned to open hostility. "She thinks she's changing the company," one senior manager hissed. "But this isn't her world." Gabrielle refused to retreat. She met every challenge with professionalism and grit, proving her value day after day. Her work was impeccable, her dedication undeniable. Meanwhile, Wilson observed from his office, torn by conflicting feelings. The rigid man who once enforced strict rules found himself watching Gabrielle with new respect and unease. Her presence challenged everything he believed. The office politics escalated. Cheryl, Wilson's longtime assistant, grew worried as tensions mounted. She had seen too many capable people pushed out by prejudice and power struggles. Yet Gabrielle was different, unshakable, unbreakable. Despite the odds, Gabrielle's resolve never wavered. She knew the stakes were high, not just for her career but for every black woman who had ever been told she didn't belong. Each act of sabotage was met with silent strength. Each whispered insult answered by unwavering focus. The silent war inside Taylor Tech was far from over, but Gabrielle had already won the most important battle, refusing to be invisible. This was no longer just a job. It was a fight for justice, respect, and change. And Gabrielle was ready. If you're still watching, drop a comment below. What would you do in this situation? And don't forget to subscribe for more real stories that matter. Gabrielle's steady rise in the company began to unsettle the old guard. Her efficiency and professionalism were impossible to ignore. Documents were impeccably organized, schedules flawlessly managed, and Wilson's office ran smoother than ever. The quiet transformation she brought could be felt throughout the building, even if some refused to admit it. The whispers grew louder. Senior managers grumbled behind closed doors, their resentment bubbling to the surface. Ashley Bennett and Richard Hartman, two of the most influential executives, saw Gabrielle not just as a threat to their power but as a symbol of everything they opposed. One afternoon, as Gabrielle walked through the corridors, she caught sight of Ashley's icy glare. It was a look that said, "You don't belong here." Instead of shrinking away, Gabrielle held her head high and met Ashley's eyes with calm determination. In a tense meeting, Ashley confronted Gabrielle. "You think you can just change everything overnight?" she sneered. "Taylor Tech isn't a playground for your ideas or your race. Gabrielle's voice was steady and clear. I'm here to help this company succeed, not to tear it down. Diversity and respect are not obstacles. They're strengths. The room was thick with tension. Some nodded in silent agreement. Others scowled openly. It was clear the battle lines had been drawn. Behind the scenes, Ashley and Richard began plotting more aggressive moves. They sought to find any mistake, any weakness in Gabrielle's work that could be used against her. But Gabrielle was meticulous, catching every detail, anticipating every trap. One evening, Gabrielle discovered a forged email circulating among the senior staff, falsely accusing her of manipulating company data. Rather than react in anger, she calmly compiled proof to expose the lie. Wilson, meanwhile, found himself caught between his long-held beliefs and the undeniable evidence of Gabrielle's integrity. He began questioning the harsh rules he'd enforced for years, realizing that the real weakness was not in Gabrielle, but in his own rigid mindset. In quieter moments, Wilson watched Gabrielle not just as an employee but as a catalyst for change, a woman challenging the very foundations of his world. Unexpected allies began to emerge. A few younger employees, inspired by Gabrielle's courage, started voicing their support. Even some longtime staff who had kept their distance began to reconsider their positions. The office atmosphere shifted subtly, from icy hostility to cautious curiosity. But the road ahead remained treacherous. Gabrielle knew the fight was far from over. Yet with every challenge, her confidence grew. She wasn't just surviving. She was reshaping the culture, one step at a time. This was the turning point. A power shift brewing beneath the polished surface of Taylor Tech. The old order was trembling, and Gabrielle stood at the heart of the storm, ready to lead the charge. The day of the big board meeting arrived, and the atmosphere inside Taylor Tech was thick with tension. Gabrielle knew this was the moment when everything she had fought for would be put to the ultimate test. The room was packed with senior executives, board members, and influential stakeholders, all eager to witness the showdown. Ashley Bennett and Richard Hartman entered with calculated confidence, clutching a thick dossier that they claimed held evidence of Gabrielle's alleged misconduct. Their eyes flicked toward Wilson, silently urging him to take their side and force Gabrielle out of the company. Gabrielle walked in with steady steps, her composure unshaken despite the hostile eyes fixed on her. She had prepared for this moment meticulously, armed not only with her work accomplishments but also with undeniable proof of the sabotage campaign waged against her. Ashley began the presentation, her voice sharp and accusatory. We have uncovered serious misconduct regarding Gabrielle Evans's appointment. There is evidence she falsified credentials and manipulated key decision-makers. The room murmured, some faces expressing shock, others barely hiding their disdain. Gabrielle listened calmly, then stood and addressed the board with clear, unwavering conviction. These accusations are baseless and malicious, she said. I have documentation proving that the sabotage came from within this company. Attempts to discredit me were orchestrated by those threatened by change. Wilson's expression shifted from uncertainty to resolute support. I personally appointed Gabrielle based on her exceptional abilities. The claims against her are fabricated. Cheryl Foster, Wilson's assistant, stepped forward, presenting detailed evidence of the conspirators' plans to undermine Gabrielle. The room fell silent as the truth unfolded. Ashley and Richard exchanged stunned glances, realizing their scheme was exposed. The board demanded an immediate response. Wilson stood firm. This company will not tolerate discrimination or sabotage. Gabrielle Evans is an asset, and anyone opposing her efforts will face consequences. The meeting ended with a powerful message. Taylor Tech was entering a new era of diversity, fairness, and respect. Outside the boardroom, Gabrielle felt a surge of relief and determination. The victory was significant, but only the beginning. The company culture still needed transformation, and the path ahead remained challenging. Wilson approached Gabrielle later that day. His usual icy demeanor softened. "You've changed more than this company," he admitted quietly. "You've challenged me to rethink everything I believed." Gabrielle nodded, understanding the weight of his words. "Change is never easy, but it's necessary. Together, we can build a better future." As they looked out over the city skyline, the sun set behind them, a symbol of endings and new beginnings. The battle had been won, but the journey toward true equality had only just begun. The aftermath of the board meeting brought a wave of change through Taylor Tech. The company began implementing new policies focused on equality, diversity, and inclusion. Gabrielle's promotion to a leadership role sent a clear message. Discrimination would no longer be tolerated. Employees who had once resisted her presence now found themselves adapting to the new culture. Workshops and training sessions were organized to raise awareness about racial bias and promote mutual respect. The atmosphere gradually softened, and collaboration improved. Wilson Taylor himself underwent a profound transformation. The cold, rigid man known for strict rules started showing empathy and openness. He engaged more with employees, listening to their concerns and championing Gabrielle's initiatives. Despite progress, challenges persisted. Some former opponents continued to spread rumors and resist change quietly. Gabrielle remained vigilant, determined to protect the gains she had fought so hard to achieve. In the midst of this, Gabrielle was invited to speak at several conferences and universities. Her story inspired many, especially young Black women facing similar struggles in corporate America. She emphasized the importance of perseverance, dignity, and standing up against injustice. One memorable speech at a prestigious college in New York drew a standing ovation. Gabrielle spoke candidly about overcoming prejudice, the power of self-belief, and the need for systemic change. At home, Wilson and Gabrielle's relationship grew stronger. They supported each other through the highs and lows of public scrutiny and professional battles. Their partnership became a symbol of hope and resilience. The birth of their daughter marked a new chapter in their lives. They named her Maya, after the poet and civil rights activist Maya Angelou, honoring a legacy of courage and equality. Raising Maya in a world still grappling with bias, Wilson and Gabrielle committed themselves to building a future where their daughter, and all children, could thrive without barriers. Though the road ahead was uncertain, their shared determination promised lasting change. Taylor Tech had become more than a company. It was a beacon of progress and possibility. Gabrielle's journey, from outsider to leader, from target to trailblazer, resonated far beyond the boardroom. It was a testament to the power of courage, truth, and the unyielding fight for justice. Years later, Taylor Tech had transformed from a symbol of exclusion into a model of inclusivity and progress. Gabrielle's leadership inspired a new generation of employees who brought fresh perspectives and diverse backgrounds. The glass ceilings that once seemed unbreakable were now shattered. At a major conference in Manhattan, Gabrielle stood on stage, addressing a packed auditorium filled with eager young faces. She spoke not just about her personal journey, but about the broader fight against systemic racism in corporate America. Her words carried the weight of experience and the hope for a better future. Wilson watched proudly from the audience, no longer the distant billionaire but a supportive partner committed to change. Together, they represented the possibility of transformation, not only for themselves but for the institutions they had touched. Outside the corporate world, their story spread, inspiring social organizations, universities, and communities across the United States, Canada, and the UK. Gabrielle's message was clear. Resilience, dignity, and courage could overcome even the deepest prejudice. At home, their daughter Maya's laughter echoed through the halls, a reminder of the stakes involved in their fight. Wilson and Gabrielle taught her to value kindness and justice above all else, preparing her to face a world still filled with challenges, but also opportunities. Despite occasional setbacks and whispers of resistance, the legacy they built was undeniable. Taylor Tech's policies became a blueprint for other companies seeking to embrace diversity and fairness. Gabrielle and Wilson continued to work together, leading initiatives that uplifted marginalized voices and created pathways for advancement. Their partnership symbolized a new era where love and justice walked hand in hand. The challenges ahead remained daunting, but the foundation was strong. The battle against racism was ongoing, but Gabrielle's story proved that change was not only possible, it was inevitable. In the end, their journey was more than a personal triumph. It was a beacon of hope for countless others striving to break barriers and rewrite their own stories. As the sun set over the city skyline, Wilson and Gabrielle stood side by side, knowing their fight had planted seeds that would grow for generations to come. If you believe in second chances and breaking barriers, share this story. To viewers in the USA, UK, and Canada, your voice matters. Together, we can change the world.